I want to thank you all for your testimony, and thank you, B, for being sensitive to our time. One of the biggest challenges in crafting tax policy for small businesses is deciding what counts as a small business. Many Americans, when they think of a small business, think of a corner grocery store. But clearly, small business is much more than that. And there are dozens of possible definitions based on revenues, number of employees, average revenue per employee, industry classifications, or other characteristics. And defining what a small business is critical to the success of our hearing today. And I'd like to ask Ms. Wade from the NFIB, can you tell me in 2 or 3 sentences for the purpose of tax policy, what is a small business? How would you define it?
For NFIB members, most of our members are under 40 employees. However, they span all industries and all size groups. So for tax policy, the policy that would benefit most of them would be lower rates and simplification and reducing the changes in the tax code. There isn't a strict definition because there are many firms that are labor-intensive versus capital-intensive, so it's a broad spectrum that we represent.
Okay, is a global law firm with dozens of offices around the world a small business? Ms. Wade?
It depends. It depends what the composition of the firm is. We have many, we have manufacturers who export. We have members who span every industry. So tax policy that can cover most of them would be our choice for pro-growth, supporting most small businesses.
Is a hedge fund with billions in assets a small business, Dr. Sullivan, would you say?
I think it's just common sense that that's not a small business.
What about a global law firm?
Well, as we know, they can have thousands and thousands of partners. They are considered a pass-through business. They're taxed as a partnership, but they're certainly not a small firm.
Okay, Mr. Fletterman, you run a successful tool and die company, and you have I would say, a personal stake in this issue. Do you think, for example, that a global law firm or a hedge fund should be classified as a small business?
Oh, I don't really know if it should be classified as a small business, but
for the purposes of tax code.
No, I don't. I think that what I think manufacturers and people that make things. Obviously, I'm more on that side since that's what we do. But that's what really generates the jobs in this country. We all know that, and I believe that that's what we should be concentrating on.
Well, Dr. Sullivan, could you please tell me very briefly what is a pass-through? What exactly is it? And is a pass-through the same thing as a small business?
A pass-through business is one of 3 classifications under the tax code, either a sole proprietorship, a partnership, or an S corporations. They're called pass-throughs because, as all these folks here know, the income is not taxed at the entity level, it's taxed on the individual level. However, it is not the same thing as a small business. Most small businesses are pass-throughs, but not all pass-throughs are small businesses. There are many very large pass-through businesses.
Will these large entities with hundreds of millions and even billions in revenue be treated the same and face the same tax structure as the local laundromat and the neighborhood deli? Dr. Sullivan.
Well, it depends on how. I think the example I could use is a real live one in Kansas, where the Governor Brownback put in legislation to exempt all pass-through business from all income tax in Kansas. It was discussed as a small business tax relief, which it was, but it also provided tax relief for the largest businesses in the state.
And are there steps that we could take to better differentiate in the tax code between traditional small business employers and huge companies organized as pass-throughs? And what steps would you recommend, Dr. Sullivan, since you have written and studied this?
Well, I think ultimately we're talking about job creation, so I would suggest targeting the tax benefits to those businesses that have lots of employees rather than just lots of assets.
Thank you. My time has expired.